Welcome to the Modern Husbands Podcast, where any combination of Dr. Bruce Ross, Christian Sherrill, and Brian Page host national experts who share winning ideas to manage money and the home as a team. I'm Brian Page, founder of Modern Husbands. Sometimes our listeners want more support than a podcast can give, individual or couple support, which I provide as an accredited financial counselor and fair play facilitator. Details can be found at modernhusbands.com. Today we welcome Dr. Shandra Parks. Dr. Parks serves as a board president with the Maryland Council on Problem Grambling and is a Family Involvement Facilitator, resource home worker, and is a Field Instructor for MSW students with the University of Maryland, School of Social Work. Dr. Parks provides wellness counseling, financial education, as well as financial counseling to individuals and families impacted by disordered gambling. In this conversation, Dr. Shandra Parks discusses the complexities of gambling addiction, its evolution in the digital age, and the psychological factors that contribute to it. She describes early warning signs, understanding the emotional impact of gambling, and finding a balance between entertainment and addiction. Enjoy the show. Dr. Parks, this is not only an important conversation to have, and I would argue one of the most important conversations we've had on this podcast, but it's also, very timely because this is going to be released around, March Madness. Of course, gambling doesn't stop; it's year round. But I am thrilled, and Bruce is thrilled to have you in today. Just for our listeners, for perspective, when I reached out to the Financial Therapy Association and asked who would be the top person in the country to talk to about gambling addictions and challenges, Dr. Parks was the very first person brought up by a number of people. So Dr. Parks, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. And on behalf of the Maryland Council on Problem Gambling, we thank you for extending this invite to us.
Now, you work with people and families affected by problem gambling every day. When you hear the phrase, quote, gambling addiction, what do most people get wrong?
I think what most people get wrong is that they don't realize that it is an addiction. They don't realize that it is something that is like drugs or alcohol. We refer to gambling addiction as the silent addiction because oftentimes that is something that you cannot outwardly see, you cannot outwardly smell, you can't observe by a person's characteristics or body that something is going wrong or that they're addicted to something. Because guess what? The gambling areas, we see it every day because it's entertainment. So you won't know or recognize that there is an addiction there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think we conjure pictures of gambling addiction of, at the casino, someone a slot machine, maybe like a backroom poker table or something.
Right.
But gambling has really changed. Could you walk us through a little bit how it's changed in the last decade?
So absolutely. And so if you were to pull out your pocket right now, and I don't know if you can see this.
Yep. Yes, we can. Yep.
But guess what? It is a cell phone. And guess what? And then the way that has changed, that is no longer brick and mortar where you will have to leave your house to go to a casino or go to, I'm from New Jersey, go to Atlantic City or go to Las Vegas. You don't have to hop on a flight or take a train or drive to a place to gamble. But guess what? From the comfort of your home, from the comfort of your seat, you now have access to this device that plenty of us have access to, the cell phone, where we're now able to gamble from our cell phones because we have mobile apps. So within that piece, it has changed over the past, decades, where something that was far reach out of grasp has now become much more in grasp, in reach to you. So we have to think about that, what that impact, and even more so that gambling, we think about just only like games, but we don't think about also the games that we have on our phones and doing loot boxes. So that's being appealing to the younger generation, the time that is spent that we consume on our devices, and our devices even become an addiction because we are prone now that if I leave my home, it's not longer, it's, oh my gosh, there's three things that I might have left behind: either my keys, my wallet, And what is the third thing that you dare not travel without now?
Well, for me, it's so I drive a Tesla. So it's literally the only thing I drive take is my phone, because I use my phone as my wallet.
Yep.
Right.
And my phone is also my car.
Exactly. So this device can easily control almost all of our lives.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's such a great point. From anywhere, as you could be at your kid's
Anywhere.
soccer
I mean,
game.
it even opens garage doors and locks, like electronic locks on your house doors now. Like, it's everything.
Right. So we think about, so when we look at the whole gambling, landscape, it's becoming more, here brick and mortar and becoming more digital. As we're more advancing in technology, we have to think about what are those apps that we're having access to that we're able to now look at.
Now, Dr.
So
Parks, you had mentioned loot boxes for our listeners. Can you explain that if they're not aware?
excuse me, if you talk about loot boxes and different games, so if you look at your app, there are a couple of games that you may be familiar with, Fortnite or Royal Match or different games, because yes, they are on my phone phone as well, but I engage in the games. But it's almost like in order to pass one level to the next level or to get another life, there are these loot boxes that are rewards. So if I lost a life on a particular game, I normally would have to wait out a good 20 to 30 minutes before a life can be reestablished on a particular game. However, if I want to bypass that, I can then look down this particular list of loot boxes or rewards and put in and pay for that additional life so I can hurry up and pass the next level. So they have all these particular rewards. I'm going to take a risk. I don't know if I'm going to pass the level if I pay for this particular reward out of this loot box, but it allows me to hurry up, bypass the time of waiting out that 20 and 30 minutes to hurry up and get to this next level, because I may be involved in a particular competition and I don't want to lose out. So when we have different loot boxes, those are examples in terms of increasingly spending or risking much more money of value increase in order to win a particular outcome that you may be uncertain about.
Bruce, I'm glad you asked that follow-up question, because a light bulb just went out when I think of I think of usually either Vegas or sports gambling, right? But both of you are so spot on that there is these loot boxes are almost like these little games that you guys were talking about. And so can you dive into kind of like provide a little bit more context of these games? Are these some of these community-based games? Are these, a lot of people, when they think of gamblers, they think of men? Are there a lot of women who participate in this type of?
It depends. I mean, and I'm going to take it outside the games in a minute, but it's anyone that has access in terms of entertainment. Men, we know definitely men. There's women. There's all particular ages that are now, due to technology, designing apps that would attract us. So I utilize games in one area. Another app, maybe I like to shop. So I don't know if you heard of Temu.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, yeah.
So if you ever went on the Temu app, what does it look like? It's almost set up. Hit the jackpot for a reward. We got your, credit. Buy this. Hurry up, you got credit. Buy this. And here you hit the jackpot. They have a spin the wheel to extend your particular time for more gaps. But guess what? That is now drawing you into what? Risk more money of buying something that you may not need for a value in hopes that you may win this particular credit of maybe $400 credit, so then you could buy some other items. However, in order for that to be released to you, you have to purchase an item within this particular time frame, or else you will move out. You will lose out. So I don't want people to think that this whole strategy is just related to just gains, but that same psychology of reward, increasing your money in hopes that the next chance you're going to receive something. And that's oftentimes what we call like chasing money, or chasing the reward of something, because I didn't get it this time. I got close, because it does just enough to get you close. But you say, you know what? I got close today. Tomorrow, I'm going to hit it. And guess what? Tomorrow comes, you get a little bit closer. You haven't gotten there. But so the next following days, you begin to start chasing that I'm going to hit this particular jackpot. And so then that's where it becomes that repetitive behavior, because it becomes over and over again in hope that I'm going to finally hit. And so what happens is we do not count up all the losses. Well, yeah, I finally hit. I finally got the $500, but I spent 1,000.
Yeah.
In order to get the 500. So did I really hear? Because at the end of the day, when you do the calculations, it's ending up being, oh, this is a minus 500. So I'm really in the deficit and not in the positive.
It's so interesting that everything is just being gamified in front of us, not just all of the games and apps that we normally play, but how it's translating into shopping, how it's translating into gambling, really just everything that we're using. I mean, I think probably even our news streams as well.
Right, that's a whole different area.
Thing that we don't have time
We haven't even
to
talking about what we consume. Yeah, what we consume our time on. And because technology, with the increase in technology, AI and algorithms and everything that is tracking and monitoring what our interests are, the next thing you know, that I just talk about this, I can pull up my app and say, oh, my phone, and say, oh, wow, I was just thinking about this. How did you know? So even with that, what were the website, what their cookies, what we're consuming our time is, it's being all designed and drawn to draw us into this particular space.
So with that, getting back to the gambling, how does gambling really feel different from some of the other typical money struggles like overspending, credit card debt, those kind of things?
So it feels a little bit different because there is oftentimes the intensity of emotions that may be around it. And so when you talk about emotions of distress, when you talk about the emotions of shame and guilt, because I don't want someone to know, I may be open to say, you know what, I'm overspending on this particular area. And I could easily have that conversation with you. But if I'm feeling ashamed that I've gotten myself into a problem that is causing me harm, or that I may not have a conversation, just thinking about if someone gets addicted to drugs or here or shame, it's carrying that particular weight that maybe overspending or credit card may not have that, layer. There is a particular, but oftentimes it's the stigma around the addiction that does not hold as much weight as someone if they're overspending with other money related problems.
And so, what then are some of those early warning signs that gambling is becoming unhealthy?
So,
even if the bills are getting paid,
so
even if there isn't the credit card debts, or so to speak.
So early warning signs is definitely looking at what is preoccupation, what is a person individually doing with their particular time, being able to listen in terms of the conversation. And I know that oftentimes that's kind of hard when you look at the different TV channels, sports channels, there's almost like 15, 20 sports channels. So you may not know that something is going on, because on Saturday afternoons, you can easily turn to 10 different sports stations and look at 10 different games. And so, but within that, being able to have the conversation around these particular games, how much, is game out, like, okay, but the games is off, but why are you watching games at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? Like, what's going on when it starts to disrupt your pattern of normal daily functioning that's causing distress? Like, okay, it's normal to watch maybe switch from 2 to 3 different games on a Saturday afternoon, as I said, but when we're switching through 10 or 15 different games, what's going on from by that. When we begin to look at mail beforehand, used to have all this mail where people were hiding mail. Well, oftentimes now we have online accounts. And so if you go back and start checking through online accounts, like, okay, there's a unusual pattern. Like, why was this deleted out the account, or money was moved, here, or transactions? Banks have doing a better job now in terms of there's a fraud alert or something unrecognized, that there's some unusual spending going on within a particular bank account, or there's a credit, alerts that may come to your phone and realize, okay, what's happening? This is unusual. So those are different signs. Just the absenteeism from where a person's supposed to be, whether it be on your particular job, or if there was at home, uh, taking a long time to get back home, or going a different route, or not returning. This is speaking with those who may have partners, that if you say you're going to go out to the store, and it usually takes a person about 15, 20 minutes to return back home, but that time begins to become a little bit more extended. So instead of coming back home at like 6:30, you're returning back home maybe at 7:30, without having that proper communication to let a person know what's happening, what's going on. There may be some signs that some other activity may be going on.
Listeners have told us that they love the ideas we share on our podcast to manage money in the home as a team, but want more help than one episode can provide. That's why I'm excited to announce On the Same Page Consulting for corporations, couples, and individuals. Visit modernhusbands.com and click Our Services at the top of the page to learn more about how I can help you or your employees manage money in the home as a team. Again, that's modernhusbands.com. Now back to the show.
So what about all the people that are saying that I'm just doing small bets, or like this is just entertainment? It's like, Brian, you're one of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the line between the entertainment for Brian and then it becoming a risk?
So the entertainment, where is the line? It's called that, that healthy, boundaries. And I think Brian had mentioned something earlier. He's like, what, I know my limit.
Mhm.
My small bet may be like $1, $2. And there was something that he shared. He said, and I'm okay with that,
Mhm.
of losing that, $2. However, it becomes unhealthy that, okay, I had gave myself that boundary, said I'm not going to go beyond that $2. But then we begin to push that line and say, okay, now it's no longer $2. That, oh, I was supposed to stop at 2, but now I'm at 200. And so now that 200 now begins to impact him if he does not have a plan on how he's going to replace that $200 if he took it somewhere that was not supposed to be. So for instance, okay, he took the $200 that might have been allocated for next month's bills. If he has a way to replace that $200 that does not impact him for the next month, then okay, then we need to talk about what are some safeguards that you don't have to keep going and doing that, so it does not become a repetitive pattern that may just been a one-time thing. It's like, okay, you know what, oh yeah, I'm really out because that hit me. Versus where you have individuals that boundary has become pushed so much that it become numb, that it just keep going and going and going. And now that I'm taking out of a retirement fund to cover the month's rent, or I'm taking from the children's fund to make up for this particular loss. So when we begin to see, does it cause impact or stress in our daily functioning, even if bills are paid, looking at the patterns of how are those bills being paid? Because yeah, my bills are paid, but if you had a pattern that I was paying my bills on time, and now all of a sudden they're still getting paid, but they're no longer being paid on time. They've now become being paid a month later, or I'm putting more on my credit so I can make sure that stuff is being paid. So being able to look at just the patterns, looking at it goes beyond just stuff being paid on time, but what is happening to ensure that those payments are being paid on time? Am I taking now money from somebody else to say, hey, can you help me out? Because I lost $200 over here. I'm feeling ashamed that I want to tell you that I lost $200 that I gambled away, but I need you. Can you cover to pay this $200? I'll give it back to you when I figure out a way to win back the money that I lost. so then you can get it back. So then that's how that starts to become impairment to not only ourselves, but then now we are involving others. And our relationships now are becoming strained because we are doing something that's harmful not only to us, but now may be harmful to other individuals because we are damaging our relationships.
So as you both mentioned, I gamble, and I do fantasy football and FanDuel. And the way that I approach gambling is that it accomplishes one of two things for me. One, it enhances the entertainment. It's not the entertainment. So if I'm going to watch football on a Sunday, it's more fun if I have a fantasy player going, if I have a FanDuel player going. And so it enhances the entertainment if I only have $1 or $2 on the line. And the second reason I use it is it's a tool of community for me. So my fantasy football league, I'm in a couple of them. One of them in particular is comprised mostly of my high school friends. That's how we keep in touch. And then another one I actually co-manage with one of my best friends. And it's a way that we keep in touch. We talk about it. And there's no stress that accompanies losing the money because there's never enough money on the line to be stressed about. It's just another way to stay connected with friends and another way to stay connected within the entertainment itself.
I was just saying, but here's a couple of things that you mentioned. So one, definitely entertainment. We have community. We all love to be in community, and that's definitely very important. Secondly, that you had mentioned that you have within your community, you have established some safeguards.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In your community.
Yep.
The community that you are connected with are comprised of individuals that you have known for a long period of time. So you have some type of relationship, even outside of this particular, community, and that there is enough established trust within your community that if someone were to feel as though they're being harmed, that there's someone that can talk to and say, how can we go about receiving, help? And so you have those established boundaries, you have those safeguards. And for you, which I have heard clarity from several times, mentioning that I know my boundary, I know my limit is going to be $1 to $2.
Yeah.
So if someone comes to you and say, you know what, we're going to do $5, you may have a check within your own system to say, do I want to engage in this? What is my value? Do I want to increase in what I'm doing to move to $5? Or am I going to be in that space and say, you know what, my limit and will always be at $2. This is how I utilize this community, and will be the way I'm able to participate in that community. So that is and how you see entertainment and how you view that and where you are engaging in this activity from. And relatively, I don't know you that much, but it sounds like the conversations that you're having with me is that you're engaging in this community, in this in this activity from a space of being healthy and happy of where you are in life at this moment in time.
Yeah.
That is what you are presenting. And so because of that, I'm able to engage in this activity from a space where my mind and my body seem to be in a healthy state. Now take this same conversation with a person whose health may be immune or compromised in their decision making, that they may not be entering into the same healthy space that you say from the same perspective, that they may be entering it into a space where, you know what, my job is on the line, my family's on the line, I gotta feed, I have a charge against me. It's hard to make it in life. No one's not gonna hire me. I got to ride on this particular bed because I got to make sure that there's food on the table. So from that particular space, it's not entertaining for that individual. It has now become solution focused economics, that this is a way to deal with a financial matter that is outside of my purview.
That's a great point. I never thought of it that way in particular. Like, what was it you said? Solution focused economics.
Yes. So definitely I received that from one of my mentors, Dr. Haskins. But when we look at it, that, gambling is, sometimes it's a public health um disparity. And when we talk about the disparity within the communities and what is there, how people are looking for a way to escape, a way to make quick money for this solving economic problems, then that's what gambling becomes, to them. It's easy, it's quick, I can hear, it's something that's open 24 hours a day, whether that means I go in person or if I do this online, I have access to it, and it's the hopes that I'm able to make this quick money. And of course, as we talk about that, fallacy in terms of, if I won 500 this week, oh man, that's able to put food on my table. That's able to, buy some clothing. That's able to buy me a place to stay for the night.
Yes. So if someone is listening right now and this is resonating with them, maybe they're even feeling a little uneasy about some of their behaviors or their decisions, or they're justifying, going beyond whatever their initial limits are set. What are the first steps so that they don't feel overwhelmed or they don't feel shame-filled? What are their first steps in this process?
So a couple of things. As you can mention, I'm from a holistic approach to, to wellness.
Which we agree with.
So within that, and so one of the first things I always encourage individuals when we're feeling overwhelmed in the moment at the time, and it feels like everything is against our backs and the walls are coming down, is to basically take a deep breath in and just to breathe and just like, okay, let's just kind of calm and center our emotions and our regulation system at that moment in time. Just like, okay, I acknowledge I need help. This is a lot bigger than me, and it's out. There's some things that is out of my control, and I recognize that. And secondly, I want to give, the callers the 1-800 number to the National Council on Problem Gambling. It is 1-800-522-4700. That is the national number to the National Council on Problem Gambling. Within the states, we have different affiliates that specialize in helping individuals with problems, helping them connect to resources and treatment for the problem gambler. So that is the number, and each affiliate has resources that are available to their community within their particular state. So I'm here within the state of, Maryland. So the affiliate here is the Maryland Council on Problem Gambling, and we work in partnership with the Maryland Center of Excellence and Problem Gambling. So I just wanted to put that particular
What is that
number.
phone number again?
It's 1-800
Okay.
522
Okay.
4700.
Got it.
So that's the first step, is to reach out to affiliate. The second step will be, if there's, to be able to find someone that is a trusted individual that can offer you compassion, that can offer you care, and can offer not being non-judgmental. Because oftentimes when we're going through things, people want to be like, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. That is not what a person needs at that particular moment in time. They need someone that is willing to sit and willing to just listen. Just allow the person to share without judgment. I know there's been a trend statement, we say we listen and we don't judge. That's completely what it is in this moment in time, is that we want you to listen. We want to make sure that we're listening to others. So if you may know someone that's struggling with any particular addiction, is to be in a space, to be a safe space where that person could come to you and just say, hey, what's happening? What's going on? You don't have to have all the answers, but be in a place where a person can listen. So that's definitely the first thing, is being able to connect with someone that could listen, and then being able on that particular journey to healing. Is an individual walk, is an individual, path. There is some work. There's a lot of reparative work that needs to be done. If there's been harm that's been done to other, individuals, there may be some reparative work that has to happen as it relates to finances, because oftentimes with gambling, there is impact within the finances of the household. So that may be the credit, that may look at, bankruptcy. So there may be some tools from there. I wanted to just link out that GamFam is a organization that's comprised of both mental health professionals as well as financial counselors that's special in the area of gambling. And what's beautiful about that is bringing together those counselors who specialize within the mental health as well as financial counselors that specialize within gambling, because we realize that um, when it comes to financial health, then it's more than just the numbers. When we talk about the financial wellness, industry, and we're moving towards that and overall financial health, experts are saying that it's more than just the numbers. There's a mental and emotional side of money, and it shows up when we look at, gambling. So when we look at the numbers, so people are starting to bring this collaborative care approach to individuals, where we're bringing and integrating the mental health and money piece together. So you don't have to be an expert in all the money. You don't have to be an expert in mental health. But now we do have some professionals that are bridging the gap, that can serve in the middle as financial therapists, financial social workers, uh, financial health behavioral specialists that are now specializing in gaming disorder and the addiction and the process that goes with that.
That's such great advice for those that are struggling. What about for partners, spouses, that they're recognizing? You mentioned being a safe space, being able to listen, but are there other things
Okay.
so that we're not triggering defensiveness or shutting down of those that we do care about if we recognize some of these symptoms?
So in terms of for partners and families, and oftentimes are overlooked because they're on this journey with the individual as well, because they're living with the individual, they're in relationship with this individual. So it's very important for partners and friends to ensure that they are part of a community as well, on terms of how they can be supportive towards the individual. So there's called Gamma Non, and that's open to families and partners of gamblers. And there is actually a new organization that was established in 2025, and it's called Families and Friends of Gamblers. And so that is an advocacy in terms of platform of now starting to bring the families of affected others into a space to have the conversation, because oftentimes we don't hear those stories, and we don't hear those stories of how people overcome while they're working with the individuals on their healing and restoration journey. So those are definitely just resources that are available. I encourage everyone to look at that information and the resources, link, and to get involved, and for individuals to seek out their own wellness care as well, because oftentimes there are a lot of feelings that associate, and let's be honest, there is harm, there's hurt, there's a feeling like betrayed. Um, I can't trust you anymore. Like, there's lies, and that is real. And we don't want to bypass those emotions, but it is here. And so how do I walk through, and how can I look at this person? How can I begin to trust? How do I begin to love this individual, and really how to separate that is not the individual, but looking at keeping it on the behavior. And oftentimes that is the piece that we lose, is that, okay, this person is, bad, or this person is here, instead of look at, what, this is a person who has an anger, problem, or this person is struggling with this behavior when it's unhealthy, or their brain has been hijacked. This is here. So learning how to separate the two, the individual from the behavior and the harm, helps people to be able to have a little bit more grace, have a little bit more, compassion out there. But it takes a holistic approach to wellness, and it takes our individual part that we have to play.
I'm glad you said that, because we were just getting ready to ask, How do you balance compassion for the person struggling? So let's say it's your husband or your wife that's struggling with a gambling addiction, but you still have to protect yourself financially and emotionally. Like, how do you approach that conversation? It's such good advice to separate the problem from the person, right? Because you are justified if your partner has a bunch of gambling debts, or they're doing like the loop games with communities, and they're spending tons and tons of money that is outside of what was agreed upon or outside of what you can afford. There's naturally going to be conflict around that. That's going to be tough to grapple with. And the idea of just like recognizing, I think you said this early on, that it is an addiction, that it is a behavior that needs to be addressed in itself, that separating that from the human being, from the person, makes it easier, at least my perspective, to continue to love the person and care for the person and figure out how you can come together as a team to call one of those, resources, which I'm going to ask for the number again. Where can you call if that's an issue in your relationship?
So the best resource number is 1-800-522-4700. And you brought up something that was very, clear, is definitely, if you're not familiar with, addiction, being able to be connected with those organizations that specialize in treating addiction. So NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Health, being able to be connected with other individuals who are living with someone that may have a mental illness or they have an addiction is very helpful to start engaging in the community. So how do I begin to speak? How do I begin to change my language? What is the behaviors and how to have these healthy conversations, that they're not that we're not having these conversations when I'm angry when something's happening? How do I begin to step back and say, you know what, how do we begin to chart and have regular communication, time? What is the best way to communicate? It may mean for a short term is, how do I safeguard the finances where the loved one doesn't have control to the finances? How someone's going to, manage the money that looks, different? How is a different way? It's like, okay, you know what? I will manage the money, but how do I set a limit that this is your line item, this is your account, this is where you can spend the money, do whatever you want to do in this particular account, but it does not impact what we say is the shared needs of the household. So looking at how can we manage money in a different way, that I understand you're walking through this, but for me to feel safe and secure in a household, this is the one thing that we cannot touch.
How long does the recovery take? Assuming you've
So I'm
diagnosed it,
great.
you've approached it.
So I'm great. I'm glad that you asked that question. How long does recovery take? And I'm going to say, for individuals not knowing the person, not knowing here, it's going to be an individual walk in terms of recovery.
Okay.
I can't say that in 6 months this person's going to recover, because not knowing what are the factors and what there is going into their healing journey. There may be moments where nothing, happens and, say for like 1 or 2 years, but then there's a trigger event and this person kind of relapse. And
Okay. So it's like any other
so
addiction, where
yes,
you
and
you
so
could be on and off, constantly fighting it.
absolutely. And I have this little book. It's called this little book. It's for those individuals that have gone through the process, are gamblers anonymous, just like, AANA. And on this blue book, the one thing it says, it stands out, it says, a day at a time.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Parks, for all the just amazing information you shared with us today. For listeners that want to learn more about the work that you're doing, where can they go?
Oh, actually, they can actually go to the Maryland Council on Problem Gambling. We are on LinkedIn. We have a website, but definitely find the work on LinkedIn under Shandra Parks. So you can definitely reach out, and I'd be more than happy to connect you to resources here in Maryland. And if you're not here in Maryland and just want to know a resource, where can I go? I could be more than happy to assist you to getting the help that you need.
What is one piece of simple and actionable advice that you want to leave our listeners with?
One piece of advice that I want to leave everyone with is that recovery is possible. There is hope, And the step is don't be afraid or don't be scared to reach out for help.
Don't leave just yet. Be sure to like and subscribe before you do. And a reminder to visit modernhusbands.com if you're looking for money and home management support in your life. Just click the Our Services button at the top of the page. Again, that's at modernhusbands.com. And many thanks to our co-hosts, our guests, and of course, all of you for joining today.